This is a Loudoun County weather outlook, specifically focusing on this week. This week alone, I'm going to concentrate on 3 waves of energy of moisture that are going to come through. The best we can guess at this point as to how much is going to be. There will be snow. There will be mix. There probably will be rain. And then beyond that, I'll look briefly in the long range, but I mean, it's going to be super brief. This is going to be a long video, so I apologize to everyone, but I think you guys want to see what's going on. Today, nothing big except for it's kind of windy out there. The icing we had yesterday was not nearly as bad as it looked at one point on the models. That's another reason why throw caution in there. As we get closer to events and stuff, we can still be wrong because where cold air sets up. And that's the problem we're running into. The GFS you're going to see is the coldest model out of the ones that are running. And because of that, it brings the heavy snow and precipitation further south. Has this front that's going to be the delineation between colder and warmer further south, so the moisture is further south for the most of it. But the precip shield has really increased a lot over the last 24 hours. So anyway, here we go. So here we see this. I mean, we see this little storm here. It's like a little wave. A little bit of snow way far south here in Virginia, but this has nothing to do with us. This is Monday. We should not see anything tomorrow. But that is key because it does bring the cold air a little bit further south, because on the back end of that low, you get a little northerly wind here. That's going to continue to reinforce the cold air. Again, this is on the GFS model. I think that's the key as to why it's bringing a little bit colder air. We'll see how the European looks like here in a minute. Cold air is in place, and here comes the wave of low pressure along the front. You can see the moisture coming in here. So this is on Tuesday. It won't happen until noon before we start to see snow in our region. But you can see heavy snow along southern Virginia here. And that is where the GFS is going to paint a huge jackpot for snow. But moderate snow does break out here in the northern part of Virginia and over Loudoun County. It increases and just continues to snow. And it goes to light snow for a while, and snow, and then more snow, and then, oh, here we go with sleet. And even some snow mixed with sleet and freezing rain. And this is the next system. But let's go back a little bit. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. So here's where the snow, this is into Wednesday. That's the first wave moving out. And then that will be the most snow that we have to deal with. The question is whether or not this next wave brings in colder air and continues to bring some snow over us. The high is not the most ideal place to keep it snow, but hey, at least it's still cold here at the surface. So when I say at least, I mean it's going to be cold enough for at least some mixture of precipitation. And that's what you're seeing on the forecast, and it's going to move it over to rain. All right, so that's the wave of low pressure system. That is the GFS model. And here we are on the European model. Here we are today. Actually, pretty warm. You see this low here is not as conducive to precipitation and stuff. It still is there. But the 540 line is not as cold, which is the best delineation between rain and snow. Not the perfect delineation, but the best. It's not quite as far south as what you saw on the GFS. So when this next wave of low pressure system, forms, you see snow in southern Virginia, but you also see the heavier snow now poised up here in northern Virginia and DC area. And then eventually, it snows for quite a while. And there's a long duration before the next wave comes in. So 2 different scenarios shows the stripe of heavier snow over us or not. Also, the GFS has more moisture than the European does for sure over the area. So we're going to see less snow on the output when I show it to you. All right, so this is the first wave. So let's look at the snow. So here's the European model. It showed about 7 inches or so into all of Loudoun County. You see the heavier stripe is still a little bit south of us, which I think at this point looks like to be the safe case. I would not be surprised, though, honestly, if the heavier stripe does move further north today. We've got to watch and see what happens over the next 24 hours. Because I think maybe it's overplaying the northward extent of heavier precip. But we'll have to see. Again, this is a European model, so European model is still a hefty storm. That's why I was calling it the 4 to 8. But I think we're going to have to deal with a little bit of the fact that 1, it's falling during the day for a lot of it. 2, it's not a super heavy snow, although it is heavier than what the GFS shows at times. GFS is interesting, and I'll show you why in a minute. So the GFS is much wetter, and especially in the southern areas. And look at these snow totals down here near Richmond area. I mean, 17 inches. It's more moist up here as well, so 8 to 10 inches, showing up in our area are 8, 9 inches of snow. The thing about the GFS that's interesting, as I showed you, is it never really stops snowing, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in motion. This is not what the European was showing, but You can see that more snow is coming in with the next system, and so it bumps the snow amounts up even higher by adding even more snow. And then I won't go into the weekend, but trust me, it even shows more snow. So, I mean, in its totals, we get up to almost a foot over the week, including those other storms. I wonder again if this is too far south with the heavier precip, but I also think maybe it's overdone. I don't know. GFS has been very consistent on both bringing heavy snow to central Virginia. It only recently started increasing the precipitation amounts up north, which I think is a good thing. But is it right is a good question, or is it just a signal that later on we're going to see it move north? I'm not sure at all at this point. So there's another thing we look at, and that is called the ensembles, and that's the blend of models trying to do a whole bunch of different scenarios at the start to see what can come about from it. And the ensemble is actually pretty robust, still showing 6, 7, 8 inches here on the GFS. So it's pretty strong consensus that we're going to get some snow. It's definitely warning criteria. And I did go with the lower, thinking like 4 to 6 is more than likely than the 8. But, 7 to 8 inches is definitely possible based on the GFS. So let's see what the European ensemble shows. The European is still showing like it's still a 6 to 7 inch snowstorm. So, I mean, confidence is rising for a little bit more snow. Again, things working against us. This is going to be a wet snow. 2, it's going to happen or start during the day. 3, it isn't super duper cold moving in, going into it. And it's not a super heavy snow. So, I mean, even though it's snowing maybe a total 6.2 inches, how much will be on the ground? And that's where you're going to probably see a little bit lower just from compaction because wet snow compacts on itself. And 2, just the duration of the event. So, it's going to be interesting to see here. That's why I'm going 4 to 8, I think seems kind of right. 4 to 6 seems more likely. 5 to 6 inches seems to me like the nice spot to be as far as feeling comfortable. But, there is upside potential. You saw the GFS with how much more moisture it has. The European could get a little more moist here as we go into later runs. There's a run that's coming out here in about an hour or so. If that comes in and it's wetter or it shows that heavier line coming through us, my confidence level towards the 6 inch storm will go up for sure. Anyway, that's what we're seeing here at the new models. Now, I did say I'd quickly go beyond here just to kind of show you what the models are showing later in the long range. So here we are again. Let's go through the first storm. So there they are. Here's the follow-up storm. So this is now Wednesday late in the day into Thursday. You see that there's some more snow and sleet coming into the area, through that time. Now the low goes to our west, which means we warm up. So it would go over to rain, but not a lot of rain on this model today. So it could just be icy and then kind of some drizzle and stuff at the end. Then as we go into Friday, maybe even some more resurgence of a little bit of snow or something. We'll have to see. And then yet another wave is forming here for the weekend. And yes, it's barely cold enough, but again, we could see icing or snow or mix. This is all according to the GFS. So, I mean, I think the GFS may be overdoing it, overplaying it. New England, Northeast, is getting riddled with, or racked with a whole bunch of snow. They've really been missing out this year, so this is quite the thing. But you see, as we settle into Sunday, more snow into the region. Not sure how much will come out of that, or if it's even true at this point, but this is the return to colder air. So you see now the cold air has pushed all the way down here to the Gulf states, and we're in the cold, and we're getting snow as it kind of transitions in that colder pattern. Will it set us up for next week for something? I don't know. It doesn't look sticking yet, and because of that, it means that we'll probably warm up, and maybe get some ice or some rain. And then I think maybe we'll have to see how things pan out. I don't like the long-range outlook here on this one, because I think it breaks down some of the blockiness that it was shown. Blockiness meaning colder blocks. So I think this will be subject to change. We'll have to see. But hey, I mean, the fact we get this little snowy period here, or potential snowy period here, is a little bit interesting. We'll have to see if this is the last hurrah of winter, or if winter makes a return again. My gut tells me winter's going to stick around, and maybe some of this long-range stuff is out to lunch. This was last night's Euro run. Again, I just want to be careful to go through both. So Euro run last night, showing the snow coming through here, and then on Thursday, it looks icy, but much more rainy than what the GFS showed. Then it goes to the weekend, it looked dry, so nothing there. And the next week, rain, which I think is more than likely, going to be the case. But it reestablishes colder air, and the question is then, do we have something to follow up? It shows an ice storm. That is a mega massive storm. I don't know if that's true or false as far as how strong it would be, but it would bring cold air on the backside for sure in very windy conditions. We'll have to see if that pans out exactly, but just want to say that I think that it's going to be a stormy, bumpy ride for the next at least week. I'll have to see how things pan out next week as far as blockiness and things like that, the upper levels. Blockiness just means the polar regions block cold air further south, and that was showing up quite a bit on the models in the previous run, so I think maybe they lost it here, but I'm not sure if they'll bring it back. All right, that's it. Very long, as I mentioned. Look forward to snow, and I can do some shorter video updates as we get more details in. They're not quite this long. Have a good Sunday, and prepare for snow.